Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Reacher, Season 2, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So as I brought up last episode, I was like, 90% sure that Russo is dead, but I was like, there's 10% of me thinking maybe he would be fine, and especially how cavalier they were in the opening made me go like, oh, are they? But it's like, no, he did die. The fact is, it's been a couple hours. They've kind of got all their feelings out, but also it's no time to mourn. They kind of like, right, we got to end this. First and foremost, we got to make sure Marlo and her daughter are okay. But we also like, it just gives us extra motivation to get our get back. You know, we're already getting it back for the rest of the 1/10 that died. So this just adds more fuel to the fire. So it's not like a necessarily feeling responsible. Like Russo was just a good cop doing his job. Like, it's not even their involvement, like him being him. This would have been an end result regardless because he would have never taken any bribes, and Langston doesn't like any loose ends and anyone causing shit, and Russo would have been that person causing problems. So this would have been an eventuality regardless. So it's not like they have any fault in it, but it still doesn't suck any less because even Neely says like, right, a good man died in my arms last night. So but yeah, they're trying to get Marlo and her daughter Jane somewhere safe, and obviously they can't go to anywhere that's connected to like anywhere close that's connected to Marlo. Chad's place has been burned, so I mean, like, metaphorically and speaking, and they can't pick any place that's close to them. It's like, and for Reacher, it's like the only people in the world I trust are kind of in this room, and I've kind of already reached out to Finley for help, so he's already kind of involved in this, so can't like go to him for help because he's kind of burned in that capacity too. And I love Neely was like, oh, you could always go to you ask Roscoe for help, you trust her. And he's kind of almost like, yeah, and I love Dixon be like, oh, who's Roscoe? And he just kind of looks at Neely, and Neely's almost like, go ahead, and he's just like, she's a friend from Margrave's, and Dixon's like, okay. She kind of smiles and everything, like, yeah, you don't have to, like, she knows what it is, but she loves seeing him squirm to answer that. Like, yeah, she's a friend. It's like, ooh, I could feel the quotes around that. You could tell but she loves seeing him squirm. It's like, yeah, we both have our past. Like, once again, we know she was married before, so it's nothing to be bashful about. It's like, yeah, you were in a relationship with someone, even though you wouldn't define it as a relationship. Probably for him, it would be easier and simpler just to say friends with massive quotes around it, but he doesn't. Like I said, the quotes are heavily implied. I just thought that was such a cute scene of her just being like, okay, just kind of smiling and nodding. Just it's not even a jealousy thing or anything. It's just like, oh, she sees him kind of squirming around the subject, so she thinks it's super cute. Once again, just like Reacher's kind of not the kiss and tell type necessarily. So, but either way, Dixon has someone that they could send Marlo and Jane to see, and someone she knows from like Buffalo, like a place that she had kind of rented, and a landlord she's pretty tight with. So it's like, yeah, I send him like some solo bread every once in a while, and he also like wishes me happy birthday. So yeah, he'll do me a favor. What I also thought was interesting too is I love Reacher being like, yeah, this is almost over. We just got to kill a few more people, and you just see Marlo and Jane staring at him, and even Dixon's looking like, Reacher, what the hell? It's just like, and even later on, Donald just immediately walks in, and it's like, oh, like, what's going on here? Jane's like, can we eat the candy, or are we going to talk about murder some more? I'm like, why? You're so bad around children. To be fair, he never had to be around, oh, God, Paul's kids. He didn't really have to be around them last season, so he didn't really have to interact with kids. But it's like, you're horrible around kids. I was like, why are you so cavalier about like talking about murder in front of them? Because because Marlo's probably like, I can't really say anything because you've helped save us and protect us, but I don't know, dude, this seems a little uncouth. I love that, and I also love that she got the Clark bar. He's like, yeah, there was only one Clark bar. He just kind of like the chagrin on his face, being like, yeah, it's okay, and just picks up something else. I'm like, I love that. It's like, are you really going to like really like kind of implying like how much he wanted it? You didn't even have to say anything, but it's extra funny him just being like, okay, no, it's fine. It's just like he was so hurt by that. Like, I wanted that Clark bar. There was only one of them, but nevertheless, when they're able to send Jane and Marlo off, O'Donnell does kind of have this cute moment with Jane, because it's like, yeah, like that father figure in him ends up coming out when he's got, like breaking in that the brim of the hat for her, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna be okay. Your mom's very brave. You got her by your side. It's all gonna work out. Like, this is all gonna end soon, so don't worry about it. You're gonna be safe. And it makes Dixon realize, like, hey, if you want to, you don't have to stick around. Me, Neely, and Reacher can handle this. It's like you can walk away and like have your chin up, because out of any of us, you do have someone out, not just your wife, you also have your kids. Like, you have more at stake here than any of us. And she's like, yeah, you can walk away with your chin up. And he's like, really? You thought that would work on me? She's like, it was worth a try. And then we cut to later on, once again, Reacher stole stuff from them, and now we see that he stole. They in that moment. Dixon was quoting Reacher when she was saying that, because he wanted to continue the investigation. As I figured last episode, I was like, that's probably how the 1/10 went down, is because there's no way they're going to back down from this investigation, and they didn't. And he was saying, like, right, we are going to suffer the ramifications. Like, they won't be able to do anything officially to us for doing our job, but they are going to like rake us over the coals. They are going to screw us over and kind of like dishonorably discharge us. They won't be able to really officially, but they will like ruin our career, our military careers and stuff. But he's like, if you want to, you can walk away. I understand you can walk away with your chin held high, but no one left the room, because it's like, all right, let's get to work and let's see this through. And like I said, it kind of went down the way you expected it to. Granted, they busted up the operation. I was almost scared for a second. I was like, are you really not going to find anything? But then it turns out they were hiding stuff in like the spare tires of the military vehicles. Like I don't know if those might be considered Humvees. I don't know. I think they are, but either way, they were in the spare tires on the back. I was like, interesting way to stash the drugs, because it's not an obvious place. Like, you look everywhere else in the vehicle, but they notice like the recent patchwork on the tires. It was like, oh, you recently patched these up because you're stuffing them full of drugs. So it's like interesting. But it ends in a firefight with the buyers, and obviously everyone's going to come out of this alive, like, because we know, well, how everyone else eventually dies. So, because the first one of the group that dies is Lowry, like 2 years ago from like present day. It was a car accident. I guess more and more time passing by, making it seem like it was just that, which is, I mean, that's the sad thing about life, I guess. But either way, but still, just kind of showing them as a unit, them working together, and slicing, in some cases, I don't know, one of my favorites was like O'Donnell like slicing the dude's leg and then he falls and like shoots him. Like, I don't know why, like, those are one of my favorite things in like stealthy action like sequences or whatever, is to kind of like, or like if it's not like shooting your leg and then you fall and it's shooting you in the head, like doing what he did, knifed you in the leg, your Achilles, then got you. But just seeing them work together as a unit, having each other's back. And the final guy, I was like, are you going to, like, he's climbing the fence. I'm like, oh, what you're most likely going to do is you're going to hit the fence. He's going to fall backwards and land on the vehicle. It's like, no, you're going to go full speed through the fence. The fence is going to, like, collapse underneath him and he's going to fall and break his leg, which is, like, very poetic. I mean, he's the only one alive. All the dealers are dead and the people, no, the other two dealers are dead. The buyers are all dead, so he's the only one that got arrested. So that's got to sting a little bit, because there's no one else you can throw under the bus. You only have you. They only have you. And obviously, everyone was already packing their bags after they finished the job. And it's like, congratulations. And the team is going to be going their separate ways. The saddest thing was when Lowry was like, oh, like, I'm going to give this picture to your, like, future wife. Which I hope on some level he did. Because, because they did go, was it Dixon's wedding? Or was it, I don't think it was Dixon. It might have been Dixon's wedding, like, because they did go to some wedding, because Neely referenced it. I can't remember. I think it was Dixon's. I don't think it was O'Donnell's. But it's like, I think Lowry, because the group kept in touch enough. The only person they couldn't keep in touch with was Reacher. So I like to believe and hope that Lowry was able to say, like, I'm going to give this to your wife. But O'Donnell's like, dude, I'm going to be single forever. Yada, yada, yada. Obviously, the irony behind that. But I hope Lowry was able to kind of keep that picture. And it's also sweet we find out Franz is the one who ended up handing out the photos. He's the one that made copies for everybody. Which, I wonder, where is Reacher's? Like, does he actually, like, did he leave it somewhere? Or what? Or did he just not, like, collect it? It might have stayed at the military base or whatever, like, just kind of as a reminder. Once again, he does not keep stuff, which is such a shame To be fair, I mean, he didn't even keep his family's medal, but I mean, that was like sentimental for him to bury it where Joe died in Margraves. So, but yeah, Fields rips them a new one. Because when he first popped up in the show, I was like, I hope we don't find out he's dirty. He's not dirty, but it is just kind of like the political game of like, yeah, you kind of have to follow orders, and I told you to shut this down, and you didn't, so I got raked over the coals, so now, like, I'm going to fuck you guys, and you have the audacity to be here, like, celebrating, but for Reacher, it's like, no, we did a good job, we did the right thing, because those guys think, like, we're going to just let them be able to walk away without any impunity. It's like, no, we brought the hammer down on them, and it was a job well done for a final case for the 110th, and they just went out swinging and celebrating. So obviously, like, they were gonna, I think, like, I don't know how many of them actually stayed in the military after that, because obviously there's some of them probably did leave the military, because it isn't like a, I don't know enough of the military hierarchy and I mean how things work, where they're not, like, they were immediately dismissed from all active, like, military duty, because he was talking about, like, oh, you'll get shit positions after this, so they probably all did stay in the military. Any that did stay got shit positions. I don't think that one was getting completely fired from the military. They definitely would get discharged later on dishonorably, and once again, unofficially, they'd get discharged in that capacity. Like I said, I don't know how that would work. I don't know if any of them would want to stay in the military after, so probably all of them did leave. I mean, it might not have been voluntary. It might have just been like a, no, you are going to leave. It's mandatory now after everything. But I don't know if any of them would have stayed in the military to kind of have to basically eat shit sandwiches for the rest of their career. So that's why I'm like, that probably was the end for a lot of that anyway. Even if it wasn't probably mandatory, like, they would probably voluntarily leave. Either way, I'm going on a tangent, but it's kind of the thing of they were all able to walk away with their chins up high, held high, with pride in their work. So, back to present day, we had Reacher going to visit Marsh, and Marsh is trying to justify what he did, saying like, right, I thought they throw a bag at Russo's bag. Like, who wouldn't take it? It's like, Russo wouldn't, and you knew that. It's like, you're trying to pretend like you're saying, you had the audacity to say like, oh, I've known him since he was a rookie, he was under my charges. Like, then you knew Russo enough to know he wouldn't take that bag. You knew what that meant when you made that call, and you made it regardless, you know, whether it's like, oh, like, if Langston found out, like, they would have came back for me. It's like, you could have been brave, you could have done the right thing, and a good man is dead now because of you. And it's like, right, I'm gonna give you two options, you know. The fact is, option one is basically you're gonna have to deal with me, and option two is that you will get a call and turn yourself in. Obviously, prison is not a good place for an ex-cop, but at the end of the day, it's better than the alternative. Slightly better. But, Reacher, like, put him down. He was almost looking for an excuse to... I was like, oh, is Reacher just going to shoot the guy and wound him? But it's like, no, Reacher just straight up put a bullet in the guy's head. Took some of, like, the dirty money, and then he hands it to Neely. Like, yeah, our debt's clear. I paid off all the money I owe you. So, because Neely wanted him to, like, they suffer for what he did. And it's like, yeah, of course Reacher ain't going halfway. It's like, yeah, once again, just casually killing not like an ex-dirty cop or anything. Like, yeah, I mean, the money's there. It's probably going to be found out that he's dirty, but still, you killed a cop. Like, that's going to be a little... But, hey, you kind of mosey on. Like, you're very, like, rogue vigilante doing your own thing. And they ended up finding out the guy they hit with a car last episode, his name's Grant, is still alive, so they went to visit him. It's like, will they really be able to... Well, I mean, I was about to say, like, someone of Reacher's size, but I've seen fairly big nurses. Like, not like, built like, you know, Reacher, but probably you'd probably be like, oh, wow, that's a very, very jacked nurse. But it's like, all right, probably wouldn't think too much of it, I guess. But yeah, they went to visit Grant, and that sequence about like, oh yeah, let me inflate the balloon related to the catheter, I was like, ooh, that made me wince. I was like, ugh. I think everyone felt that in that moment. I was just like, yeah, and he was like filling it with air, and he's like, all right, I can't actually kill you with this, because if you explode from the inside, that's going to set off a whole bunch of alarms. But if you die from an embolism after like getting hit by a car accident, no one's gonna think too much of it. And in the way Reacher leaned in, it's like it's a gift from Russo. I was like, that felt like a mob hit. That line delivery and that particular action felt like something straight out of a mob movie. It's like Russo sends his regards. It's that type of shit, especially with the name Russo, so it felt so like, they felt like something straight, like I said, straight out of like a mob movie. But the guy who was there to sit to kill Grant, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Which is funny later on because they're like, oh yeah, the guy Grant you killed. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Langston was sending someone to kill Grant anyway, so who gives a shit? He was about to be dead anyway, but that guy you killed is like, shut up. Like, you know what time it is. Langston was going to have him killed regardless, so it's like, I just did your job for you. We just had the benefit of getting some information out of it before they were literally only a few steps ahead of your guy. So that's why I think it's so ironic, like, getting so pissed. It's like, yeah. It's also like, you put him in that position in the first place. It's like, well, he put himself in that position by being a dirty cop and being involved in all of this business. So it's like, yeah, that's on him. I just thought that was so interesting in retrospect when the guy's like, oh yeah, like, that guy you killed. It's like, yeah, your boss was going to kill him regardless. It's almost kind of like hey, don't worry, buddy, we did your job for you. And he's running and he tries to like hit Neely with the bone saw. When it fell on the ground, I was like, oh, they're just going to knock him down. I thought they were going to do it on purpose, make him fall on it, but he fell on it accidentally. It's like, well, shit, I was trying to pump him for some information, so. Because they got some stuff from Grant about the deal's going to go down like at 5 a.m. and stuff like that. But that's not too much he knows because Langston keeps a lot of that close to the vest. But sadly, we end up finding out that Langston has both Dixon and O'Donnell. And it's like, you're like, damn it. Just like, right, we just lost Russo last episode. Now we had that moment between Dixon and O'Donnell about him could bail out if he needs to, and it's like now they're both like being held hostage, and so Reacher makes it seem like Neely's dead just to buy them some time. So he calls up Lavoie. All right, I'm gonna need some backup to make this happen, to save my friends, the ones I have left alive. And Lavoie's trying to be like, hey, I just want you to know I did this for my country. I think when it's all said and done, Reacher's going to do whatever he can to burn Lavoie at the same time. Because, like, you created this mess, regardless of your reasoning for it. I think he's going to be able to burn. They probably will, like I said, it's not just Langston that's going to be taken down. Langston ain't just going to take him down. They're going to fucking murder him, and rightfully so. But I think it's going to be a thing of Lavoie is going to go down. Like, I felt like that when Lavoie met with Reacher. I was like, he's going to take you down, and, he's definitely going to take you down. I know that he is, and it's just because there's no way he's just going to let you go, considering like how involved you were in all of this. So, but when it's all said and done, Reacher plans on turning himself over. It's like, right, he's seen what happened to Franz, so he knows like, oh, I'm going to be tortured and stuff. Which even Neely's like, come on, dude. It's like, no, like I'm not going to take it lying down. He has like a piece of like the files, like he was taking it off, so it's probably going to be able to like use it as a means of like opening up his cuffs, but he's willing to take whatever torture to give him an opportunity, because the only way they're going to be able to strike is from the inside, so he has to be on the inside. And Neely's kind of getting this uneasy feeling, because for her it's like when shit was going to go down with how the 1/10 ended, for her it's like it ended with us metaphorically getting killed, and now someone's literally taking out the 1/10. It's like the feeling I got back then, I'm kind of getting that now, and she's just worried that things could go sideways. Like, this might be a situation where we do all end up dead. At least back then, yeah, we got blackballed and our careers were like shot to shit, but that was that. This is something else entirely. Like, a lot of the squad is dead now, and it's just, she's worried about all of this. Like, will we come out on top on this? We might not. We might actually all die. And for Reacher, it's like, we did our job. We investigated. We did good. Like, some people we put in the ground, some people we put in jail. He's like, I'd much rather have done the former. I think like I think in his mind is like a lot of those people were shitty people that deserve to be put down. And because I for a long time was wondering if there was going to be a correlation between the case back then and what's happening present day, but it doesn't seem like it. It's just establishing more with the 110. I mean, to be fair, it's like the flashbacks. The last season was just more an exploration of who Reacher was as a kid and how what that meant in parallel of who he is now, present day. That's all it was really meant to be, like him and Joe and their upbringing and stuff, and what that spoke about them as individuals. That's all it was, and the same thing here, like kind of getting to know the 1/10 better, and the ones who are sadly no longer alive, and the ones that are still here, like O'Donnell, Neely, and Dixon. And that was also the thing for Reacher. It's like, yo, like I got like one of the best people who's covering my ass, right? And he's like, besides, like if this all really went to shit, you wouldn't be the last member of the 1/10 standing for long. They probably have you dead in the next 24 hours. And she just, once he leaves, she just goes, asshole. So yeah, like I get it. It's meant to be. It's a shitty thing to say, but he was saying it kind of almost like in a funny way to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. But it's like, yeah, probably wouldn't be too long before they ended up tracking you down. Probably, but she still go out guns blazing. I think probably also from her perspective, it's like 24 hours, motherfucker. I'd last longer. Don't get it twisted. You know who I am. So, but yeah, at the same time that was happening, O'Donnell and Dixon were being tortured. Interesting little detail. The actor who was beating up O'Donnell, he played Garrett in Killjoys, and also the actor who played Fancy in Killjoys popped up a little bit in this episode, meeting up with AM. So like I said, just funny stuff like that. Just little things that connect. You're like, oh, that's interesting, because Serinda Swan in season 4 of Coroner, the actor who played Pre was in that season, so that just Killjoy's connection all around, just really, really interesting. Like I said, I always like connecting dots between actors like that. I always think that's so fun and interesting when you just, I mean, of course there's going to be so much overlap between actors in some capacity and some connectivity like that, but I always think stuff like that's so fun and just interesting. But anyway, you're just like that entire scene, you're just like, oh, I can't wait for you to get it. The guy that's beating up on O'Donnell, the guy that's using O'Donnell's knife to stab Dixon, you're like, oh, I can't wait for you to get it. You see Langston and you're just like, man, it feels so bad, because of the last role I saw Robert Patrick in, he was a piece of shit. That if you don't know, that was him in Peacemaker. If you've never seen Peacemaker, we'll watch Peacemaker and you'll quickly understand what kind of a piece of shit his character was in that show. But it's like, man, it feels so bad having Robert Patrick play these back-to-back piece of shit characters where you're just like, oh man, you suck. And it's just like, yeah, now it's like, even in this situation, you're like, oh, for a long time, you're like, oh, Langston, oh, I can't wait. I hope Reacher gets the opportunity. I hope he does throw him out of a plane, helicopter, whatever he can. Like, I want him to get it that hard, but he probably won't, It's also that thing, because like, however he gets it, it's never going to be good enough. Only way it is going to be good enough if Reacher can throw him out in a plane or a helicopter, just how poetic it is. Cause I feel like even KJ last season, it's like, even I'm kind of like, well, him and, was it Dawson or whatever, his cousin, I'm like, oh, I wish you kind of got a little harder than what you got with everything that you've done, But you're dead, you're in the ground, so a win's a win. So I'm sure for Reacher, if he's not able to throw him out, Langston out the window or plane or whatever, like, he's going to be happy just being able to put him down. So I'd assume AM's going to catch it too. It's so interesting too, because like, he's connected in all this, but he's been the most disconnected thread. He's the major linking thread, but like the group has had no direct connection with him. So that makes me almost wonder, like, is he going to, I doubt he's going to get away at the end of the season. Maybe they're going to make it seem like he does, but eventually, like, they end up tracking him down and putting him down. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'd assume, next episode's episode 8, so I'd assume it's his season finale. I'm pretty sure it feels like we're winding down to the story, because, like, we have the final, like, well, Reacher and Langston had their confrontation last episode, but this is, like, the final, like, the climactic, well, climax. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out. Obviously, it's like, but there's enough room for things to kind of go sideways, but also how things end and what they might. Will there be any setup for the future, or will it just be a thing of not end, like, just like the Margrave situation, just end it with Reacher like walking on and just going on, but. Who is Reacher going to be at the end of this season, now that it's like, oh, he lost contact with the 110, and what next time, so many years went by, turned around, and, one of them had died, while the before the Margrave stuff even went down last season. And then you also find out like the people, like, you know, the other members have died. So over the course of this whole stuff, and once again, what about Swan? Is he going to survive this? Where is he at in all of this? Is he already dead now that it's all done? Or do they still have him locked up somewhere? Will he be fine? Like, because I brought it up previously, I felt like Swan was going to be like the Paul of the season, where like Swan wasn't in any scenes present day. It's all been flashback stuff. Just like Paul was only in the first episode and the last episode present day. Whereas, like, you got a flashback with him in, like, episode 6 or something. I talked about it previously, so I'm curious to see how this all plays out. Will everyone survive? I think there's a pretty good chance all 4 of our heroes will come out of this okay, but you never know. Some last-minute fuckery could change all that. But like I said, like, who is Reacher going to be at the end of this? Will he keep in contact with everyone because of all this? Because you would have thought the Margrave situation would have led him to doing that, but he didn't. And now, like, maybe Margraves stacked on top of this, what kind of effect it's going to have on Reacher in the long run, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the season finale, but also just what this means going forward in general, like how this all wraps up and how this ends and what this could potentially set up for the future. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited to see what happens. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.